Hello viewers and welcome to yet another commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you with an exceptionally special game. Today's featured match happens to be the final game of the 2015 Nordic Championship, which ended up taking place in Denmark. On the left we happen to see our Space Marines warlord, the ever-popular Captain Cato Sicarius, piloted by Robert Haustein, and on the right we see the very competitive Packmaster Kith, instead run by Victor Edstrøm. At the beginning of this game, we've seen that our players have already taken several actions. The initiative token happens to be in the possession of Packmaster Kith. We see Captain Cato Sicarius wielding his signature Talisarian Tempest Blade, and Packmaster Kith is already developing a very strong economy. So planet number 1, we see Kith's Chimera Masters and an associated Chimera token, very strong command and combat presence there. And planet number 2, we already see an Incubus Warrior. Planet number 4, our Space Marine has a copy of the extra card drawing Void Pirate in play, and planet number 5 for Kith is going to be a resource token generating Rogue Trader. We end up seeing Cato put out another copy of Void Pirate to planet number 3, and just in assessing our planetary layout, this could very well be a very quick game indeed. Planet number 1 is going to be Yvarn, whose battle ability allows you to put units directly into play in your HQ. Aatrox Prime is going to be absolutely fantastic for blowing up some of these Chimera tokens or any of these squishy economy-friendly units, and planet number 3 is going to be Iridial, which removes damage from units, which probably is not that useful considering we've only got, the Warlords and a single 2 HP unit on the board. Ossus number 4 is going to be planet number 4, very appropriate there. It allows players to steal resources, and another very important planet to see is going to be Taurus at planet number 5. Dark Eldar like filling the board with units, so Taurus is going to be a very interesting place for our Space Marine player to consider going. But in assessing that planetary layout, the earliest we could see any player win this game happens to be Iridial through material or technology icons, but we could still see a strong point victory as early as planet Ossus 4, which is planet number 4. Our Space Marine ends up putting out a copy of Tactical Squad Cardenas to planet number 1, which is going to be great against those Dark Eldar, and we end up seeing our Kith player Victor end up attaching a copy of Promotion to the Chimera Masters. So both of our players are going to be choosing where exactly to set their command dials. We already see a very strong command showing for our Dark Eldar player. Are we going to see Kith push planet number 1 and try to go for that early game victory? Are we going to try to see him go to Taurus, maybe kill off that Rogue Trader, try to ensure that he generates an additional 3 cards just to accentuate and complement his resource token accruing ability? And of course, wherever Kith goes, she's going to bring a lot of dangerous Chimera tokens with her. So is she going to go to planet number 2 to protect her HQ from the likes of Aatrox Prime, or is she going to push at planet number 1? Definitely she'll demand combat initiative. Both players end up sending their warlords to planet number 1. So Kith has 2 Chimera and 1 Chimera Master present. Kith is going to win command at planet number 1. That's 1 resource. At planet number 2, 1 resource, 1 card for Kith. Planet number 3 is going to be 1 card for Kith, denying that Void Pirate. Planet number 4 is going to be 1 card, 2 resources for Robert on the left, and then planet number 5 is going to be 2 resources, 1 card for Kith. So very strong economic advantage in the early game here. Looks like Cato has something along the lines of 4 resource tokens, as does Kith going into combat. Both players happen to have several cards in hand, so we could certainly see things along the lines of Drop Pod Assault, Crushing Blow, Indomitable, all kinds of nastiness from our Space Marine player, but combat breaks out. That tac squad is present at the planet. We see a Chimera token not exhaust, so it does exhaust, and where are we going to see that attack? We're seeing that attack going toward Cato. So Cato happens to have an attack value of 3 with Armor Bane. We see an Archon's Terror played out by Packmaster Kith, which is going to quite handily banish the Chimera Masters from that planet. So is our Space Marine going to try to keep Cato present at that planet, kill off Chimera, generate additional tokens? Is he going to attempt to bloody Kith that can quite readily run away, despite the Armor Bane attacks, outbound? But what are we going to see Cato attack? What are we going to see Kith and the Dark Eldar attack? Is Cato going to retreat? definitely this is going to be an extremely aggressive game in that if any player wins the first few planets, it's all going to be over here. So the national championship is on the line, and we already see Cato basically just retreat. He gives up that planet, and that's going to be one icon of each color for Victor on the right. So Packmaster Kith has won that first battle. I can't imagine that we're going to see Yvonne triggered, but now we're going to be going into our HQ phase. We're about to see our new planet revealed. Both players are going to end up generating 4 additional resources and drawing 2 cards. Our new planet number 5 is going to be Eloith, which allows players to tutor the top 3 cards of their deck for any 1 card that they would like. Once again, we cannot see the actual hands of our players here, but Cato already has 2 points of damage. That tactical squad is going to be going out with him to whatever planet he ends up sending Cato, and now it's just quite a few resource tokens we see on Cato's side. It looks like 7 or maybe 8 for Cato, and then a grand total of 6 for Packmaster Kith. So in assessing Packmaster Kith's hand, I know I can see a copy of Twisted Laboratory and among a few other different things, but we see a very formidable Blood Angels Veterans touchdown on planet number 1, which is going to be Aatrox Prime, and it's likely going to be very important that our Space Marine player try to win battle at Aatrox Prime, if at all possible, just so that any retreating or adjacent Dark Eldar units can just get blasted by that planet. We end up seeing a 3rd copy of the Incubus Warrior put out. I believe that was to planet number 3, and now Kith is just wrecking house in regard to early game economic advantage. Cato's already got some damage. Kith is entirely hail. We end up seeing a Sicarius is chosen played to the first planet. It's going to reel over a copy of Incubus Warrior, so it's going to be very difficult for Cato to end up winning command at planet number 1, but he is likely going to be able to get some benefit out of his Void Pirate sitting at planet number 2. But we actually see a copy of Foretell. So I suppose that was... frankly, I guess I'm not exactly sure what that was played for, just to perhaps draw a card. We end up seeing a copy of Raid, and it looks as though our players are disputing whether or not maybe this card can be played at the present moment. So, let's see here. I guess at present, we're still waiting on what to see from our Space Marine. It seems as though at this point he has passed. Packmaster Kith is still contemplating that raid. Kith happens to possess 4 resource tokens, so I'm not sure if they're speaking to a tournament organizer at the moment or what exactly the issue is. But where are we going to see Warlords? I can only imagine that Cato is going to end up going to planet number 1 just to try to kill off those Eldar, get rid of those very hard-hitting, nasty Incubus Warriors. We end up seeing the support, the Twisted Laboratory, put into play in our Dark Eldar player's HQ. A Kith's Chimera Masters ends up deployed to planet number 1. That's going to be another powerful Chimera token. It's going to be another 1/2 body sitting at that planet, and that's going to be 5 total command icons that our Dark Eldar player happens to possess at that planet. We end up now seeing that copy of Raid successfully played. Kith manages to steal that 1 resource token, and that Twisting Laboratory sitting in Kith's HQ is a very nasty support that's going to blank the basically text box of any army unit, so it could ensure that those Blood Angel veterans are going to take an additional point of damage. It could deny the Tactical Squad Cardenas their normally devastating area effect ability, so both of our players are deciding where exactly are they going to be sending their Warlords. I can only imagine that Cato is going to want to try to press planet number 1, even though there's so much daunting opposition there. It just seems as though he really is going to have to try to kill off some of those units as quickly as possible. And of course, each dead Dark Eldar unit is going to be an additional resource token generated for Cato. So maybe he's got Indomitables, maybe he's got just a glut of shield icons in his hand. I'm not exactly sure. I could definitely see Packmaster Kith going to a non-first planet, just because it seems as though she could maybe rest reasonably secure and having some advantage there, but maybe we end up seeing a copy of Archon's Terror in her hand once again. A bunch of different units here. A touchdown for Packmaster Kith at planet number 3. Perhaps she is going to go for a strong point victory, or she just wants to starve Cato of as many resources as possible. But Captain Cato Sicarius does end up going to planet number 1. The Tactical Squad Cardenas arrives exhausted at that planet. We also happen to have that Twisted Twisted Laboratory, mixing my Tyrannid cards with the Dark Eldar there, so Twisted Laboratory could easily blank Tactical Squad Cardenas. But that's going to be Cato winning 1 card, 1 resource at planet number 1. Cato gets 2 cards, 0 resources at planet number 2. Cato's going to get 1 card, 2 resources at planet number... I'm sorry. So 2 resources for Kith at planet number 3, since Kith is present there, and it's going to be 2 resources, 1 card at planet number 4 for Kith. Planet number 5, absolutely uncontested. Battle erupts at planet number 1. Sicarius is chosen, ends up handily destroying a copy of the Incubus Warrior. That's going to be an additional resource token for Cato. We end up seeing the Twisted Laboratory triggered on the Blood Angels Veterans, and we're going to see the 3-attack Incubus Warrior take a swing at the Blood Angels Veterans. Iron Halo is discarded as shields. That means the veteran is only going to take a single point of damage, but it would have taken no damage had it had its printed ability there. So Cato is going to take a swing and quite handily end up killing off the 1 remaining unexhausted Chimera token, and now battle is looking very, very bad indeed for our Dark Eldar players. So that's another additional resource token for Cato. Granted, Kith is going to be able to steal 1, but that's still incredibly nasty, so perhaps she was just trying to prevent as much resource and as much card draw, as much card and resource advantage as possible, but things are still looking pretty decent for our Kith player here. But definitely our Space Marine is starting to kill off just so many powerful Dark Eldar units. So the Blood Angels Veterans kills an Incubus Warrior. Now all the units are going to be readying at planet number 1, and we see the Kith's Chimera Masters retreat. So Aatrox Prime is going to be abandoned by our Packmaster Kith playing Victor, and that's going to be 1 red and 1 blue icon for Robert. So he ends up winning battle at that planet. Is he going to shoot? It looks like he fired into the HQ, was really his only eligible target for Aatrox Prime there. Battle is going to be taking place at Ossus 4. Certainly Kith has plenty of units to back her up, and obviously that Void Pirate is destroyed, so Kith is going to be able to get rid of that unit there. She's going to be able to steal 1 resource from our Space Marine, and now, of course, the Warlords are going to return to HQ, and now Kith has just a wealth of units sitting at Ossus 4 there. So if Kith can win Iridial, if Kith can win Ossus 4, and she's already set up quite favorably to potentially do so, then that will be the game. There's still a little bit of battle to go for our Space Marine. He's going to have to win Iridial, and then he would have to win Taurus. So a lot of this game is going to come down to this round's battle, and of course the initiative token happens to be in the possession of Packmaster Kith, so lots of nasty stuff going on there. Let's see what Kith can do. She's got, it seems as though, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 resource tokens relative to Cato's 8 resource tokens. So we end up seeing yet another copy of Kith's Chimera Masters. This is, I believe, the 3rd one we've seen so far, and that touches down at planet number 1. That's going to be 2 bodies on the battlefield. Certainly a lot of units that Cato could potentially generate resources from, but Cato himself very nastily puts out a copy of Veteran Brother Maxos sitting at that planet, and he's going to have combat action, put a Space Marine unit into play. So as long as Maxos stays there, he could effectively ambush Tac Squad Cardenases, he could do Daring Assault Squads, any number of just devastating units that the Space Marine could toss out just to wreck the Dark Eldar. We end up seeing a Warlock Destructor put out to planet number 1, and that's a very nasty 3-4 attacker, very efficient cost for resource investment there, because that's going to be quite capable of killing off some Space Marines. And now a Tactical Squad Cardenas is going to touch down, which is going to make it very important for Kith to potentially be sent to that planet, just so that she can ensure battle takes place in her favor. Whether you're using, Archon's Terror to potentially remove one of potentially 2 Tactical Squad Cardenases, or you're using that Twisted Laboratory to blank one of them, that Area Effect 1 really hurts when you're going to be relying on 2 or more Chimera tokens. So it's still Packmaster Kith's opportunity to deploy. Looks like 2 or so cards remaining in hand, and several cards for our Space Marine player. But what exactly are we going to see in regard to committing? I'm going to assume both players are going to be sending their warlords to planet number 1, and that is a lot of nasty Space Marine units that are going to be staring down our Dark Eldar, and each additional Dark Eldar unit that ends up being killed while Cato is at the planet is going to be another resource, and then so long as Maxos is sitting right there, he could keep replenishing the Space Marine of resources, so that early game economic lead that continues to exist for Kith. I'm very curious if that's going to end up making enough of a difference for her. That area effect is going to be incredibly nasty, so the Space Marines have so many potent, powerful units. Are we going to see planet number 1 for both players, or is Cato going to just end up going to planet number 2 instead? So let's see, how are things going to break down? I guess a lot of this has to do with what our Space Marine has in hand. It looks as though Kith ends up going to planet number 5, and Cato ends up going to planet number 1, so Kith is going to be pursuing a mandatory random discard. A lot of Space Marine units are going to be showing up exhausted, and it looks like Kith is maybe playing a little bit longer game just because she's not going to be able to overcome this wealth of Space Marine units here. So who knows, maybe for all I know, Kith happens to have a Doom or something in her deck, and she's just hoping to eliminate a bunch of Space Marine units while they're sitting in the HQ. But just a tremendous number of Space Marine units there. It's going to be two cards at planet number 1 for Cato, 2 resources at planet number 2 for Kith, 2 resources, 1 card at planet 3 for Kith, and then 2 cards at planet number 5 for Kith. So I believe we've seen, or we're about to see, an attack. Things are getting a little bit messy on those playmats there, but I'm not sure if Cato is going to be swinging. Let's see here. It's our Space Marine's opportunity to be attacking first. Looks like Packmaster Kith takes the opportunity to kind of tidy up his opponent's armed forces there, and that is just a tremendous number of horrifyingly durable and difficult to remove Space Marine units here. So things are looking a little bit grim for Packmaster Kith. That Warlock Destructor can't be outright killed in a single swing by Captain Cato Sicarius unless he invests a couple resources to do the Fury of Sicarius. But it looks like that Twisted Laboratory triggers on a copy of the Tactical Squad Cardenas. And now what are we going to see from Cato? He's got a wealth of different options. He could clear the Chimera token. He could potentially wound something. Looks like veteran brother Maxos uses his first attack against that Warlock Destructor. We end up seeing it looks like a Shadow Field discarded, so that's going to be a grand total of 0 damage on that Warlock Destructor, and now that means Cato's not going to be able to follow that attack up to secure a kill. So are we going to see a relatively weak attacker, a formidable attacker? Kith certainly has multiple options. The exceptionally frail Chimera token might be attacking, but what are we going to see? There's a attack squad with 2 hit points remaining. There's an attack squad with 3 hit points. The Blood Angels Veterans is exhausted, but the Warlock Destructor takes a swing, and we end up seeing an Indomitable. So I'm not sure what exactly its target was, but that Indomitable prevents all of that damage quite handily, and now it's going to be our Space Marine players' opportunity to respond. So Tactical Squad, Cardenas. It looks as though... Okay, so we end up seeing Cato take a swing for the guaranteed easy kill, get rid of that Chimera token. That's going to be 1 additional resource for Cato. Now there's just a Chimera Master left to attack. It's not going to be able to kill anything save that Void Pirate. It could put another point of damage on the Blood Angels Veterans, potentially, but what exactly are we going to see? Just a wealth of different targets. Certainly whittling away at those tax squads wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either, but Kith's Chimera Masters ends up declaring an attack. I'm not sure exactly what the target is. Unfortunately, there are no oh-so-convenient octagon illuminated arrows here, and our Space Marine player is trying to figure out, does he want to shield anything? I definitely saw a copy of the Honored Librarian in our Space Marine's hand. We end up seeing a copy of Primal Howl discarded as shield, so very interesting. We see Tactical Squad Cardenas, looks like just attack. It must have had its text box blanked, and that's going to be 1 point of damage on the Warlock Destructor, and that is essentially going to be bringing us to the end of the combat round. Will our Dark Eldar player retreat? We end up seeing a Clavex War Leader, so very nicely played. That Blood Angels veteran is now gone, and the Clavex War Leader itself is going to be able to attack for 3, it looks like, against Cato, and that's going to be a Nocturne Ultima Stormbolter discarded as shields in order to mitigate 2 of that damage. So we see a Drop Pod Assault that's going to be tutoring the top 6 cards for any Space Marine card 3 cost or less. And what are we oh my god, so that is a very nasty sight to see on the battlefield. Looks as though Packmaster Kith is probably as thrilled as I am to see that unit. It's going to be a 4-attack Honored Librarian, so it of course swings and in a single fell swoop manages to destroy that Clavex War Leader, and that is going to cause a significant amount of difficulty for our Packmaster Kith player. I can't imagine that at a tournament somebody's going to be running the Cabalite Strike Force, and that Space Marine Death Ball is quickly reaching critical mass here. Veteran Brother Maxos is still well and alive. We've only seen 1 Drop Pod Assault. We've yet to see any eager recruits. So a new combat round is about to begin. Are we going to see the Dark Eldar player retreat, or is he going to try to remain? We end up seeing Cato, uncertain. Cato does stay. So Cato decides to stay at the planet. Are we going to see a retreat from Packmaster Kith, or is she going to... Okay, so we end up seeing Victor decide to pull out. He effectively retreats. We're going to end up seeing our new first planet very shortly here. So that means Cato ends up winning yet another planet. That's Aatrox Prime and Iridial in the bag. So now as soon as he ends up getting another technology icon or material icon, so he could win on our soon-to-be planet number 2 or 3, that will be the game. Packmaster Kith still happens to possess 1 icon of each kind from winning at Yvonne, and that means if Packmaster Kith ends up taking the next 2 planets, then she'll potentially sweep. So, Packmaster Kith wins the battle at Barless. That's going to be 1 random card discarded from Captain Cato Sicarius' hand. It ended up being another copy of Honored Librarian, so I'm pretty sure that Packmaster Kith is very glad to see that nasty little unit go. It's definitely very effective against the likes of something akin to a Clavex War Leader, in that it's so difficult to pin down. And definitely, Packmaster Kith is not very area effect friendly. So it looks as though the initiative token passes to Captain Cato Sicarius. So Robert there ends up putting out a copy of the Void Pirate, planet number 4, which is going to match Kith's command presence. Kith does choose to pay the 1 resource required to keep her Warlock Destructor in play at the HQ, and now it's going to be Kith's opportunity to deploy. What exactly are we going to see from Kith? What can she do? It looks like something like 7 or 8 resource tokens for Kith based on stacking. We end up seeing an Altensar Rangers touchdown on Ossus number 4, so that's going to be fantastic. It's not only got 2 command icons, but it's a 2-attack ranged unit, which is going to be absolutely crucial. We see Captain Cato Sicarius play an Imperial Fist Siege Force, which quite handily routes that rogue trader away from planet number 2, so it makes it quite likely that it's going to guarantee that wherever Kith goes, Kith will likely win that command struggle. Kith will ultimately probably generate an additional resource token from that trader, but if our Space Marine wins economy at Taurus there, it's going to be a card and resource that he otherwise wouldn't have, so that's pretty fantastic. We see our Space Marines setting up for combat at the following turn. White Scars Biker splashes down at planet number 2 for Packmaster Kith. We end up seeing a Bloodied Reavers put out to planet number 1, so it looks like Kith is going to be pressuring Ossus 4 very, very hard, and what's very tricky is our Space Marine player can essentially forego Ossus 4, stomach losing a resource to Kith, and so long as he can set himself up very favorably at our soon-to-be planet number 1, Taurus there, which will ultimately decide the game, he could very well potentially crush Kith. So Kith puts out a Baleful Mandrake and a Slith Mercenary at planet number 2, and that's going to be very important because that Slith Mercenary could not just serve to win him command at that planet, but easily during the upcoming battle potentially betray him and join the ranks of the resource token generating Captain Cato Sicarius. But that Baleful Mandrake is going to be able to attack for 3 during the ranged phase. Looks like Captain Cato I suppose Iridial at one point must have healed the damage off of him, so I must have missed that battle ability, but he's sitting there entirely hale. That does not look at all like his bloodied side. So it seems as though, very wisely, Captain Cato Sicarius has chosen planet number 2 to set himself up for an inevitable victory, if he has managed to achieve that critical mass. But to no one's surprise, Packmaster Kith has also sent her just mob of forces to planet number 2, so it looks like a superiority ends up being played. I can only imagine that was perhaps to planet number 2, so Kith is going to be generating a couple resources from planet number 1. At planet number 2, I think Kith is going to be reeling in 2 resources, 1 card. Planet number 3, uncontested economically, and planet number 4 is going to be a tied command struggle. So it looks like Kith happens to have that Twisted Laboratory, which could certainly blank the text box of any of these Tactical Squad Cardenases, or it could blank that White Scars Biker, preventing it from getting an additional couple points of attack. We are going to see battle at the first planet. It's a bit of a shame that Altansar Rangers and the Bloodied Reavers aren't going to be doing anything for Kith during this just crucial round of combat here, but Kith is going to win. She ends up triggering Ossus 4 to steal a resource from our Space Marine player if he happened to possess any, and now it's very likely going to come down to this decisive battle here. So Taurus is on the line. Both players have got just a mob of different units, but for each resource token our Space Marine generates for each unit that dies, he's going to potentially win, sufficient amount of income to have Veteran Brother Maxos replace some of those. So we've got a 4-3 White Scars Biker present at that planet. We've got that 4-2 Honored Librarian. We've got Captain Cato Sicarius, which himself can essentially kill in a single swing any Dark Eldar unit present at that planet. But what exactly is our just Dark Eldar player going to do? Looks like only 2 cards in Cato's hand, and one of them ended up being a 2 shield card, so Cato ends up only taking a single point of damage from that Baleful Mandrake, and now we're going to see the White Scars Biker take a swing for 4. That ends up quite handily destroying that Chimera token. Not even an Agonizer Bren would have saved it. We see the Slith Mercenaries take a swing, and what exactly are they attacking? Okay, so that was another hit on Cato. So Cato is just going to be stomaching a whole bunch of punishment, but sparing these Space Marine units from being killed. We see the Imperial Fist Siege Force take a swing at that 3-cost 3-2 Baleful Mandrake. Do we have a shield card for Kith? Looks like Kith only has 2 cards in hand. Are any of them Archon's Terror? Unfortunately, Kith doesn't happen to have an adequate number of resources to put another Clavex War Leader into play, so things are looking a little bit grim at this point for Packmaster Kith. What exactly are those events? There's nothing tremendously useful in the Eldar allied faction that I could think of. It looks like 3 cards in total for Kith. One of them, okay, so we end up seeing another copy of Foretell expend as shields. That's going to be 1 damage in total sitting on that Baleful Mandrake. And the initiative token, of course, happens to be in the hands of Captain Cato Sicarius. That's definitely a bit of a bummer for our Dark Eldar player to see, but Kith still exists. What exactly is Kith going to attack? There are 2 different Tactical Squad Cardenases that as soon as they can ready, that's going to be a hell of a lot of punishment dealt out to our Dark Eldar player. Okay, so we end up seeing the Twisted Laboratory nullify the text box of the Honored Librarian, and Kith quite handily destroys it, so very nice ability there. Nice 1-2 punch, killing off that unit. Looks like Captain Cato Sicarius finally takes his swing to clear out that Warlock Destructor. So Armorbane means you cannot use shields, and therefore that Destructor is dead. It ended up costing him a grand total of 3 resources. We now see an Eager Recruit interplay. What is it going to take a swing at? Is it going to take a swing at Kith or try to wound one of these units, potentially kill one of these units? What exactly is our chosen target? Looks like Kith is assessing his discard pile. What are we going to see from our Space Marine? So looks like Kith is wondering what exactly to see. Remember, this championship is on the line. for the Nordic National Championship. Looks like the eager recruit ends up handily destroying that Baleful Mandrake, so either our Dark Eldar player didn't think it worth shielding or just couldn't shield, and now the combat round is going to come to a close. Are we going to see a retreat, or are we going to see a fight? It's looking very, very grim for our Dark Eldar player indeed. Captain Cato Sicarius has just an insurmountable number of units there filling the board, no area effect options for the Dark Eldar, an insufficient number of resources for a Clavex war leader. What on earth could an Archon's Terror do at this point? You could get rid of veteran Brother Maxos and then just proceed to get absolutely obliterated. But are we going to see Kith's forces ready? Are we going to see Kith retreat? It's all up to Packmaster Kith with the championship up for grabs. Packmaster Kith herself does decide to retreat. I suppose Kith wants to make sure that during the final round of the game, potential final round of the game, she's going to be able to generate one last Chimera token. But Captain Cato takes a swing. He immediately kills the Slith mercenaries, and now it's going to be the opportunity for that Chimera Masters to get in one last attack. So he'd better hope for some sort of good kill in order to make it worth essentially just throwing away this unit. So just look at that enormous number of Space Marine units there. White Scar's Biker, Sicarius has chosen 2 tack squads, the veteran Brother Maxos, Imperial 5th Siege Force, the Eagle Recruits, so much nasty stuff. Looks like the Chimera Masters, I'm not sure what exactly they ended up taking a swing at, but the White Scar's Biker has a point of damage, the Tack Squad has a point of damage. That could certainly set himself up favorably for a following turn Clavex War Leader. We're seeing, can our Space Marine player activate Taurus? It looks like he indeed can, and that's going to be 3 cards for Cato Sicarius. So if there is anything to set up our Space Marine player into an incredibly favorable position for this likely to be final combat, it's having the ability to generate additional cards from Taurus there. So he draws 2 additional cards during the headquarters phase, as does Kith. Both players accumulate 4 additional resource tokens. Our initiative token for what's potentially the final round of the game is going to go to Packmaster Kith. She's definitely going to need as much help as she can get. What's incredibly fearsome there is we can see a Clavex War Leader, Slith Mercenaries, I believe a Warlock Destructor, and something else in our Packmaster Kith player's hand that he showed us for a moment. A ton of those, all of those units are going to be arriving at Taurus entirely exhausted. There are 2 copies of Tactical Squad Cardenas sitting at Taurus. Even that Twisted Passages, the Twisted Laboratory is only going to be able to nullify one of those, and we have so many Chimera tokens that are in jeopardy of being outright just destroyed. We have so many Incubus Warriors that are in jeopardy of being destroyed, and there is no way that Kith, even if her hand was full of shield cards, could hope to just stomach that area effect attack here. And who knows what nastiness our Space Marine player has drawn in his past 5 cards. But we do see a Warlock Destructor and Bloodied Reavers touchdown on Taurus. Kith is not willing to go down without a fight, and good on him. So actually, it looks as though Sicarius is chosen is put out to planet number 2, which reels away that Warlock Destructor. So that's going to mean that those players match for command at planet number 2, and that's going to be one less powerful unit that our Space Marine player is going to have to deal with. So the Bloodied Reavers are sitting at planet number 1. They're going to be attacking for 4, but the White Scar's Bikers are also going to be attacking for 4, and they only have 2 hit points, which means that almost any unit present at that planet controlled by our Space Marine is going to potentially be able to kill off those units. So what are we going to see? We see another copy of Sicarius is chosen, played out to planet number 2, and that's going to be the Bloodied Reavers pulled away from planet number 1, and that means they are not going to have the opportunity to attack. Both of those units reeled over to planet number 2 are going to end up taking a single point of damage. Now they're not only in danger of not being able to contribute during that integral battle, but they're practically dead. If this game keeps going, that's incredibly dangerous in regard to the Reavers and the Warlock Destructor being killed off by area effect. And with those plays, it looks as though Victor throws out the GG. So an incredible game, very well played, very excellent play on part of both of our players. Therefore, it seems as though Robert Haustein on the left is indeed the 2015 Nordic Champion. So congratulations to him. And of course, exceptionally well played by Victor Edstrøm. So it seems as though Kith was not able to pull it out, that veritable death ball of Space Marine units was able to overcome those torturous, maniacal, chaotic dark Eldar. But with that said, I'll just end this video by saying, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, you're encouraged to share these videos, because the more viewers there are out there that stumble upon these videos, the more people might potentially like what they see, try out Conquest, buy into the game, serve to expand our community, and of course, through their dollars, send the message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support this fantastic product. So thank you once again for joining me for this incredible game, and again, congratulations to Robert Haustein. So, if at any point you'd like me to spectate, commentate, and record a match of your own, or you'd like to talk about a deck with me, or you have any idea for any other kind of video, of course, get in touch with me through Twitter or through Facebook. And if at any point you'd like to show your appreciation for this channel, pay the equivalent of buying me a cup of coffee by contributing maybe $1 or $2 a month to my channel, I'd be honored were you to visit my Patreon. But with that said, thank you once again for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.